Shalom fellowship. Do you know how much I love this fellowship?
We
I
can't
love
see
this
you. Ari.
fellowship. I know you can't see me yet, okay? Because I want to give a little introduction, all right? Because I love this fellowship so much that I have kept on my Purim costume this whole time since Purim so I can share it with you, which was not an easy thing to do, but I did it. So are you ready? Do you know why it was so difficult to do? Well, here it is. That's true. Yes. I shaved off half of my beard. It's a true story. It's not a special thing. And as shocking as this may be for you, it was even more so for Shayna, right? Shayna has never seen me without a beard. I've had an uninterrupted beard for well over 10 years now. And let me tell you, it was a little bit vulnerable for me even coming on like this, even though it's an intentional mask. And I got to get Jeremy's screen out of there. I can't look at his face right now. But it was shocking for her. It was shocking for Dvash, but it was even more so surprising for me. All right, so here's the story. Most Purims, I wear the same costume. It's a long sleeve tie-dye shirt that I bought 20 years ago from my arm, which I burned from sun exposure. It doesn't matter. It's not the most creative costume, but it's good enough for me. So I woke up on Purim morning and I put on my lame costume and I walked into the bathroom and I looked at myself in the mirror. And from out of nowhere, the thought shot into my mind. That's a long beard. That's a long beard. Maybe I should shave it off, or even weirder, half of it off, because I remember a dorm counselor that did that when I was in college. But then I thought, no way, I can't do that. I can't do that. There are people out there that look at me as their rabbi, and I have this rabbi beard that I also really like. I can't take this beard off. What would people think of me? What would the fellowship think of me? And then I thought, uh-oh, what will people think of me? Oh no, this beard is gonna have to come off now, because it's become its own sort of mask. It's true. I do connect with the idea of having a beard, and this will probably be the last time in my life that I ever don't have one. But at that moment, I knew in my heart that it needed to come off, even if I didn't fully know why. Or not that it needed to come off, but if I didn't take it off, I would lose a valuable opportunity to grow in whatever way that taking it off would allow me to grow. You know, I was trying to have a lev shomea, a listening heart that King Solomon prayed for when he was a boy and became king. And part of that means to be able to bypass and circumvent the intellect just for a moment and just listen to what my heart is telling me. And the thought in my mind was that, on Purim, part of the reason we put on masks is to remember that we wear masks all the time, that to some degree this world is a mask. And perhaps my mask this Purim will be to take off my mask, laying it all bare. And my brain was screaming, no, this is a bad idea. Think this over. But I knew two things. One thing was that for that moment, and maybe only for that moment, shaving off my beard was a true spiritual endeavor. I just know that feeling by now, and it's something I can't explain. I felt like it would be a real spiritual service of Hashem that would ultimately bring me closer to him, even if I didn't fully understand how or why. And the other thing I recognized was that if I didn't do it right then, I wouldn't do it at all. There were just too many different compelling reasons not to do it. And I also had enough confidence in my relationship with Shayna that I knew that if I told her that I did this because this is where my heart led me, that it wasn't just a crazy silliness, but a true service of the heart, that she would support me in that, which was super important. So I found my shaver, and after years of neglect, it worked, which was like a sign. And I shaved off half of my beard. Then I thought, okay, well, let's see who thinks I'm their rabbi now. So I walked to the other room, and when Shayna saw me, she was speechless. And she was dumbfounded and confused and disoriented. And then she just burst out laughing, followed by Dvash, who burst out laughing. Maybe she didn't know what the heck was going on, but she looked at me like, who is this guy? Anyways, that was pretty much the response I got throughout the day. People were incredulous that I could do such a thing for a costume. And I tried to explain to them that I really didn't just do it for a costume. I wanted to lay myself bare and just for a moment to take off my beard and remember that I'm just Ari. I'm a guy with cheeks and a few freckles, and that I can never fall into the trap of taking myself too seriously. That I did it because the moment called for it. So some people understood. Some people like Jeremy weren't exactly in the head place to understand, but I think he respected it for what it was. Anyways, one person, my friend Ryan's wife, she came and she asked me if I was dressed as both Haman and Mordecai, right? And she said it wasn't that my bare face looks like Haman. She just said that my bearded face looks like she imagined Mordecai's face to look, which left my bare face to be the contrast to that, to look like Haman. Anyways, I looked in the mirror and I found myself deeply reflecting on that. The one side of my face was Haman and the other side was Mordecai, and that perhaps led to one of the most meaningful moments of the entire holiday, because as I looked at my reflection, I realized that really is what Purim is about to the deepest level. Just you remember we learned in Bereshit, in Genesis, I remember we learned this together, that we all have both Esau and Jacob within us. Well, even more so than that, we all have Mordecai and Haman within us too. And the real battle isn't just about fighting the external Hamans of this world, the external Amaleks of this world. The real battle is about defeating the Haman within us, right? Defeating that dark voice that ambushes us, right? With like these whispers that, no, it's a coincidence and things are random and by chance, that Haman in our ear and in our hearts. That's what the real war is about, right? Because the gematria, remember the numerical value, last 3 weeks in a row, we've talked about it. The gematria of Amalek is 240, which is the same number as Safek, which means doubt, meaning that the real world, the real war that we have in defeating Amalek, the real war to vanquish Haman, is within our own hearts. Our success, first and foremost, in that arena determines our success in the external battles in the physical world. And so looking my face on Purim helped me internalize the truth that the real battle really happens here, right, in our own hearts, in defeating the Haman within ourselves, to purge ourselves of that doubt and to fill our hearts with faith. Now, a normal person would have shaved the other side of their face the moment the Purim ended and just start growing the beard again, right? It's not that weird just to have a guy without a beard. Look at Jeremy. He doesn't have such a beard. But after all that, you know, I was thinking actually about King David's men in the second book of Samuel, chapter 10. How many of you thought of that? When the evil Ammonite king shaved off half of their beards to embarrass them, what did they do? They went home and they waited till it grew back. That's maybe what I should have done, but not me. I wanted to share it with all of you, which meant keeping it on over Shabbat. So I ended up going to Modi'in, one of the biggest cities in Israel, to spend Shabbat with my sister. Now, my sister looked at me and she looked at both sides of my face independently. She said, cover up the beard side. She looked at, she's like, just looked at my beardless face and she goes, you know, beardless is not a good look for you. It's just not a nice look. You should really keep the beard. To which I responded, so you're just saying my bare face is not a good look. My face is not a good look. I should go with the beard. Who wouldn't want to hear that? But anyway, siblings can say all sorts of things. And so then it came time to go to synagogue. And of course, the first voice in my head was that I should pray at home this Shabbat. Maybe it's best not to go to one of the more prominent synagogues in the area and just sit this one out. But then I thought, nope, that's the whole point. If I go to synagogue now, after Purim, I can really get my money's worth with this whole beard thing. I could really get the spiritual bang for my buck. It's a little bit like the self-deprecating equivalent of Jeremy's cold plunge, right? That's what it felt like. Like, okay, I'm just gonna do this, get it slow. And I forced myself to do it. And when I arrived, I started feeling that burn, that ego burn. I was definitely getting looks, not only from strangers, but I knew many people there. Will they think that I'm crazy? Will they stop respecting me? I felt that ego burn, and there was really something cleansing about it. I found myself thinking about the famed Navardic yeshiva. You remember the yeshiva Navardic, Jeremy? Have you learned about that? In the 1800s, where the students were known to do particularly humiliating, self-deprecating things like going into a bakery and asking to buy a hammer or a screwdriver, or dressing in torn rags or stuff like that. They did this in order to ensure that they didn't care too much about what other people think. And the words kept going through my head. right? It's better to be a fool in the eyes of man for your entire life than in the eyes of God for even a moment. But then I would look in the mirror and say, I actually probably look like a fool in the eyes of God too. But that's neither here nor there. But anyways, I arrived at synagogue, I took my seat in the back, and within a few minutes, someone approached me and brought me a mask. And while I originally thought this was a unique suggestion for me personally in my condition, it turns out that this is one of the few synagogues that still request that you wear a mask during services. So I put on the mask, and truth be told, it was the happiest I felt putting on a mask since the pandemic began. Anyways, I'm not going to keep going on and on. It wasn't all that bad. It was close enough to Purim that I'm sure people made the suggestion and figured out that maybe I didn't have time to even out things before Shabbat. It also gave me an opportunity to make people smile, make people laugh, which I enjoyed to do. It gave me the opportunity to flex that muscle of not caring around what people think. And it allowed me to remember that I can never start to take myself too seriously, right? That the ego unchecked is as much of a spiritual liability as anything else. And I've told you before this, I've been doing this since I'm a kid, where my father told me, this is what it means to be a Jew. You can never care what anyone else thinks. Yes, Jeremy, over the years, I would switch between various kippahs, the different demographics were. There's a felt black one that the ultra-Orthodox wear, or a knit kippah that religious Zionists wear, or even a keffiyeh. I would just keep switching around, which most people don't do. You usually settle into a box. And but I didn't want to ever get so connected to a specific identity that it became calcified in my external trappings, which then can come to define me and box me in internally as well, right? Which is even more tragic. But the older I get, the less frequent these exercises really became, and the less important they seem to be, because I started feeling like I know who I am inside, and the external stuff seemed to be less relevant, which is why I am not suggesting that anyone else do this or anything like this. I'm not even 100% sure it was the right thing for me to do. But ultimately, I did it because at that moment on Purim, staring into the mirror, I really felt that in my heart, for me, I had the opportunity for authentic growth, which was unique to Purim, right? An opportunity to take off a mask and remember that the real battle of this world is not on the outside, that it's on the inside. And so, my friends, I want to bless us all that we're able to really sometimes take off our masks when we need to, that we're able to internalize the truth that everything that happens in our lives and in the entire world is orchestrated by the ultimate king of the world. And as we approach Pesach, right, that's what's coming up, as we approach Passover, may we be prepared to see that just as Hashem runs the world through nature, right, from behind the mask, the great day will come when all the masks are removed, which will usher in the ultimate redemption before the eyes of the entire world, a greater redemption and revelation than we could ever imagine. So I love you both. I love all of you. Love you, Jeremy. Love you all in this fellowship. Shane is very excited that now I get to go upstairs and take off the rest of my beard and start the healing process of regrowth.
Well,
Shalom,
I thought I
shalom.
dared you to keep it until Passover. You said you were going to accept the dare.
I actually said that to Shayna, and she was like, please, no, don't. So I'm not going to do that. That's just off the bat too crazy. But
well, I'm really
anyway.
proud of you that you kept it all the way through Sunday so our fellowship could see what you looked like for us on Purim. Excellent. Good for you. Thank you, Ari.